now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And guys, I don't know about you, but dolls kind of creep me out. Yeah, I know. It's strange. My grandmother actually had a room in her house, one of the back bedrooms, that was just balls to the wall dolls.
Every grandmother had that.
It scared me to death. One actually looked like Chucky. I used to mess around with my cousins and move them where they think they're actually. I put ketchup on one of them's hand one time, like all kinds of things.
The My Buddy doll.
My buddy, I was very scared of dolls. In fact, Chucky himself, along with aliens, which is another story for another episode, contributed to me basically forcing my parents to get an alarm system because I refused to sleep in my own bedroom because either Chucky was coming to get me or aliens were coming. And obviously, an alarm system would stop those aliens. But I digress, but this is a good segue into this week's episode where we're going to be talking about a creepy doll combined with another scary element, which is AI. And of course, I'm talking about 2022's M3gan. M3.
Okay, it's just pronounced Megan.
Oh, Megan. That actually makes sense. Megan.
Yeah.
Megan.
And speaking of Megan, which we all know because we watched the movie, stands for Model 3 Generative Android. Megan tells the story of a young girl named Katie whose parents get killed in a car wreck, leaving her to live with her Aunt Gemma, who is a whiz with electronics. But apparently she also learned nothing from Skynet and decides to create an android version of a playmate because she doesn't know how to take care of kids. Spoiler alert, neither does Megan. Well, she knows how to take care of kids that aren't Katie. But it's a good movie. It's actually a lot of fun. It's an hour and 42 minutes. It's exactly what it says it's going to be. I mean, it's a movie about a lifelike doll that takes it too far, which we've all seen before, dating back to Chucky, Child's Play, all the Terminator movies. Anytime you create robotics and give them any kind of free thinking ability, they're going to lose their mind and try to kill their hosts. That being said, this movie, when I watched it the first time, when I finished it, I thought to myself, that's what the remake of Child's Play should have been. The new Chucky movie should have been more like this. I was lost on that one from the beginning when, the chip, we forgot to program it not to kill, or we accidentally flipped that off. Oops, why would you even have that as an option to begin with? But I digress. Megan is more about the doll slowly evolving in a way that makes her kill as a protective mechanism for Katie. Katie almost borderlines in this movie on being that annoying kid that you don't want to root for, but then you realize, when she has that talk with Gemma about, her emotions and everything getting the best of her because she lost her parents and hasn't been able to get that out, you start to realize she's not being a brat. She just doesn't know what to do with everything that's happened. So that's redemptive for her because the Christmas movie with the kid, the villain, I can't remember, we watched it earlier.
Better watch out.
Better watch out.
Yeah, better watch out. Wanted that kid to die immediately. At no point was I like rooting for that kid. In this one, I was, you root for them. Surprisingly, I don't know if y'all paid attention, but everybody in this movie, except the assistant who was, doing some sketchy stuff, but was not a bad person. Everybody she kills in this movie is a jerk. Everybody, if you think about it, everybody that Megan kills at some point in time was the worst. I mean, the CEO of the company or the tech guy, whatever his position was, awful. The little kid, Billy, whatever his name was,
he was the worst bully. Like,
oh
ever.
my god,
Brandon.
Like 2 seconds into him talking, I was like, oh, he needs to die. He needs to die. And that's a brutal scene, just watching her pull his ear and stretch it until it finally comes off. I was like, I could feel it, but at the same time, I was like, it's what you get.
Now, is that in the theatrical version or just the unrated version? Because that's all I watched.
She tears part of his ear off. I don't know if it's as drawn out in the theatrical version, but she does grab his ear and start to pull it because the whole listening thing that happens in the original. I've watched both the theatrical version and the unedited version, and I can't really tell you there's that much difference. Maybe a little more gore, maybe
probably just extended gore shots.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think. I didn't really see much in there that would make me think one was better than the other. But it's a good movie. They definitely set it up for a sequel. That was obvious. It's impossible to make a tech movie and not have the tech survive. It's done every time they do anything where there's AI. The AI finds a way to survive. It's like a virus. So it's actually a sequel that I think could be a good stepping stone into a little franchise, a M3gan franchise. And like I said, I think this is what the last Chucky movie should have been. It should have been more about, because it's kind of the same thing. It's a doll created to be a companion, but where the Chucky movie lost me is when it starts taking over everything else. In this one, she has control over some things, but it's not like she's using those to attack them. She has like user's control, like us talking to Alexa or Siri. She can dim the lights or control the little home hub thing, but she can't turn the microwave into a killing machine. But it's a fun film. The kills are good for what they are. This isn't trying to be an over the top slasher movie. The suspense builds. An hour and 42 minutes is a little bit long, but the pacing's really good. So yeah, for a movie that I've watched twice, I enjoyed it both times. So I don't have anything really bad. I mean, again, we've talked about it before. In any movie like this, you can start to pick apart if you want to. You can, nitpick and whatever. But for just a fun short horror film, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I liked it. Watched it for the second time today. I'm not sure. I guess I watched the unrated version. I think it's a good movie. I liked it a little more the first time. Second time, I kind of found it a little more boring. I think just because the shock of it all. But it is a solid movie. I think it's the best modern version of like a Child's Play type remake. Just starting from the beginning, the Perpetual Pets commercial. That's like something you would see on Nickelodeon, right? Like
that was horrifying.
Right, I know, right?
A song about your dog's dead. Now you're all alone. What was that?
It kind of goes with the theme. It's like very dark. Yeah.
Very, yeah.
And I like, it's obvious to see what they're doing in the movie with M3gan. It's kind of a representation of society and technology and how parents are basically letting children and our kids are being raised by technology, and they're really this sort of AI is dictating our lives. There's that whole story and moral background there. I mean, of course, it's the worst case scenario, but it's an interesting film. I think the only thing that really lacks in it that I noticed the second time more than the first was the kills. Just not a lot of kills in the movie. I think it probably could have used like maybe a couple more like interesting kills, because they're just the ones that are in the movie you don't see as much of. And like you were talking about earlier, the bully, when she's stretching the ears, I mean, that is brutal, right? But I just think that's the only thing missing, is they probably could have had a little bit more kills in the movie, right? But I also see that maybe they didn't want to go too far with that, right? It's a slow burn. You don't realize how dangerous M3gan is until the movie goes further and further and further. And the only other thing I would say that complaint-wise would be Allison Williams, the aunt. I did not like her character at all. And I know that her character, she's trying to go through like an arc, but I just did not like her character. She was just like, from the get-go, she was like annoying as shit, just really like kind of bitchy, kind of like not really nice to the kid. Just, I don't know. I was not rooting for her at all, right? So I really felt bad for the kid, and I just thought, man, this is a shit scenario. You're stuck with an aunt who doesn't want you. She's kind of preoccupied with her job. She's kind of like very anal retentive. But I mean, other than that, like you were saying, nitpicking the movie, it's a solid movie. Megan is creepy. The way it's shot is really well. It's a cool story. It sets up for a sequel. I kind of liked every time Megan would sing. There was something about that was like kind of charming, but also terrifying. I really did enjoy that. So
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, I mean, it's that's really my only thoughts on it, honestly. I do think it's a solid movie. So
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen it the one time. I watched the unrated version about a week and a half ago, and I guess what sums up this movie for me, because I mean, I agree with what John said. It's like the perfect version of like the modern kind of update of what the Chucky story of today would be, because you can't tell that story now in modern times without incorporating AI in some kind of way, because that's in the zeitgeist. That's the the cutting edge of technology. It's all going to integrate AI, so it makes sense. Okay, what's our greatest version of AI in film? Take the Terminator and you take Chucky and you put them together and you put a feminist twist on it, make it a girl instead of a guy. Voila, it sells itself. I do think they should just put a stupid E instead of a 3, because it's very confusing. And what happens when they get the third sequel? It's just going to be like allegory for the Freemasons with their 33 degrees and all that stuff. Anyway, conspiracy. I guess the thing that sums up the movie for me is I watched it like 9 days ago, and I honestly, until y'all started talking about the kid with the ear, I couldn't remember one kill in the movie. And this is a movie about a killer doll, essentially. And I was like, okay, how many people? I'm struggling right now to remember. Well, how many people did die? I know, they kind of killed the doll, kind of don't. It's kind of spoiler
Dog,
alert.
neighbor, kid, the
dog,
nerdy
yes.
guy, and the Asian guy that was her boss.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's all.
Oh, that's the scene where she just randomly starts dancing and gets the paper cutter thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it's super forgettable. As great of a premise as it is, I do feel like, agreeing with John, that they could have used a couple more good set piece kills, and they probably could have come earlier. They kind of slow rolled, the rollout, because from frame one, what movie you're going to watch. It's not like you're not going to see the killer doll robot movie. Why wait like 40 minutes to get a kill in there and it be a dog instead of a person? Have more characters in there for cannon fodder, make it fun, just roll with it. That being said, I do think the little actress that plays the Megan was stellar job. And
Yeah, she's great. Do you watch The Haunting of Hill House? She played the young version when the characters cartoon. She was great in there. Like, even when I watched that, I'm like, she's gonna be good, and you can just tell. But yeah, she did a fantastic job.
She reminds me of kind of like a Dakota Fanning, but a little more edge to her, So
it was two people, right? One did the voice, and the other was the child actor doing, or the child doing the actual dancing. They have two people listed. They have two people listed.
Are they twins? Are they twins?
Oh, no, it's an older woman and then the girl.
We're talking about the dog. We're talking about the kid, the niece.
Oh, Katie. Okay, I thought you were talking about Megan.
You got your signals mixed there. Yeah, no, Megan was played by two different people, but the niece is the one who did the fantastic job.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. She was great. She was great. I thought the girl that plays Megan was great too, but through the CG, you don't really get the facials and the stuff exactly with that. But I liked it. I think it's somewhat forgettable, but I think it sets up for a good potential new kind of modern Chucky type franchise that I think you could do a lot more as AI progresses. I think there'll be more ideas for storylines that could get very interesting. Like, I could see, because AI is all connected, like hive mind and stuff, right? So you could get like multiples and multiples of Megans coming out and all kinds of stuff.
And that's where you could go the route that the new Chucky movie went, where she starts to take control of other AI.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be the progression. I feel like that was, again, not to not to crap all over that movie, but I feel like that was just too
that
rushed
movie
for
was
you.
a missed opportunity. Yeah, they kind of started to go that route, but they didn't execute it super well. And that movie will be forgotten to time too. Nobody's gonna go back and rewatch that. But I liked it overall. Somewhat forgettable, but I think it sets up for, I imagine I will like sequels to this movie better than this one, because this one kind of has to set up the premise so much.
Yeah, they also wanted it to be PG-13, which is why a lot of that gore is gone, and there's not that many kills that you see. And I understand why they wanted it to be PG-13. You get a bigger audience.
Yeah, you want those little girls that are the M3gan age.
Yeah, we want to traumatize them at an early age.
Right.
I totally get that. Allison Williams sucks. She
Thank
might be
you.
a great person.
Thank you.
She might be a great person.
Wow.
But between that and Get Out,
yeah, I didn't know until halfway through that was
Yeah.
the girl from Get Out, and I was shocked.
and I haven't seen her rendition of Peter Pan, but I bet she sucked at that too.
I watched it. It wasn't great.
She's just, and she looks like kind of like a bitch, like she does. But again, maybe I'm sure she's a fantastic person. But I agree with everything everybody said. And the kills, again, if they weren't going for that PG-13, it would have been different, which I do think the sequels will drift more towards R, 100%. Dolls are just creepy. And little kids are creepy. I don't understand why. I don't get why they creep me out, but they do. I mean, even looking over Kellen's shoulder right there, she's creepy looking because it is a person, but they have like that mask on. It's just, it gets me, which is why I appreciate this movie. There aren't a lot of great killer doll movies. There's some good ones. There's like 3 or 4 great ones.
Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah. So I appreciate them going this route with this movie, especially with the way of the world now and AI, and the sequels could be based off things that happen in real life by the time they come out. Who knows? But overall, I loved it. I've watched it twice now. I watched the rated and unrated, and like Kellen said, I tried to figure out if there was anything different, but there's nothing I could catch besides maybe a little bit more blood, a little bit more of that ear. Like she rips the ear clean off in the unrated version. I don't think that happened in the standard one. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was the only big difference I saw. They killed the dog, but they didn't show it. I appreciate that. Because if she just killed it, that's going to be a half a star ranking for me right there, because I'd rather see people die all day on film than an animal get their foot ran over. That's just my personality. But great flick. I can kind of see the boring angle that you guys kind of picked up at after after the first watch. I can totally see that. But even Lindsay won't watch it because she's so creeped out by how M3gan looks. And like the dance scene alone is probably the creepiest thing in that movie besides her run on all fours. Those two things are super creepy because they're random. It's unnatural. It makes you feel weird inside.
But they also give both of those away in all the trailers.
True. Which is the problem with trailers these days anyways, is they give everything away unless it's Marvel or something of that nature. But overall, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think we're probably going to be universal on the favorite kill, but we can go ahead and discuss that and then go with our ratings. So I was
real
torn.
Quick before we finish crapping on Allison Williams. I think that was just the way her character was designed. And I think the issue is she's too attractive to be what she was, which was the computer nerd, antisocial. If she was a little more homely, I guess that's a terrible way to put it, but if she was a little more homely, it would be more believable as a character. But she's, an attractive younger woman, not, young, but she's too pretty to be that closeted computer nerd who just sits in her basement and tinkers with electronics. So she comes across as a bitch, but that's just the character that she's playing. So
she plays it very well in everything.
I think she did a really good job as being the character that she doesn't look like.
Who she reminded me in this movie, though? She reminded me of Dexter's sister in the show Dexter a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
A little less fucks than Deborah had on Dexter, because that's what she said every other word. But also, let's just go ahead and apologize to all the attractive, smart people that Kellen just alienated with his comment.
Sexist.
We are
Wow.
so sorry. Like
just
myself,
lost a lot of
who's
listeners.
smart and
I'm
attractive.
just saying when you think of, like, in your mind, we're so conditioned that it's going to be the nerdy guy or a nerdy girl with her glasses. I mean, they've made movies
Right.
about that character.
That's the Rachel
we're
Lee Cook
conditioned to
effect.
think of. Yeah, so when you see an attractive person who is a classic toy collector, you can't. Oh, that's a collectible. That's a nerdy guy living in his basement, or us. It's
Right.
not an attractive 30-year-old woman.
We'll issue a statement after this episode drops. So, favorite kills again. We didn't see that many, and I was torn between the kid, Brandon, and the paper cutter, because as Kellen, who has just recently watched The Faculty, knows, a paper cutter scene is badass, and her dancing is badass. Probably the most memorable thing in that movie. But gun to head, I went with her ripping that kid's ear off, and then him getting obliterated by a car, because that's, again, one of the rules of thumb in horror movies is like, you leave the kids alone, and they did not leave the kid alone. She's like, screw that guy, boom, done. So I think that's going to be my favorite kill. Keelan?
Keelan. I'm gonna go with the neighbor, and the reason is I hated her so much. Like I said, everybody that she kills in this movie is the worst, and her neighbor was no exception.
Do they show the neighbor?
In the unedited or unrated one, when she's in the shed, when Megan lures her into the shed and then she sprays her with the chemicals and stuff and shoots her with the electric nail gun in the hand.
That's right.
I remember
her
that.
Face melts off a little bit.
That one because it was just it was so satisfying. I don't feel like the boss dying was as grand as it should have been, considering what a turd he was for all of the scenes he's in the movie.
It was death by 1,000 cuts,
or one straight through the back.
Right.
So the neighbor was super satisfying because she was just a terror.
She sucked a bag of these for sure.
Yeah.
John?
I was just thinking about the boss. What was it he said at the beginning? He was like, remember this, the moment we kicked Hasbro right in the dick. I was like, that's such a funny line to put in the script. I don't know. I was trying to remember a good kill. I would just say the kid, the pulling the ears and getting hit by the truck. That was probably my favorite if I had to pick one. So
TJ?
Yeah, it's the kid all the way. Literally, I totally forgot about every other kill but that one, which tells me that's the best kill. I didn't even remember, and I just watched this a week ago. I didn't even remember the neighbor kill because they just they covered it up in too much narrative crap. They just needed to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's do our rankings and then we'll close up shop. I think mine, the first time I watched it, second time I watched it, I think it's going to be the same. I think I'm sticking with a 4 for this one.
Out of 5?
4 out of 5.
Wow.
Kellen?
Wow. Listening to everybody else talking, I do kind of agree with TJ about it. The rewatchability kind of goes down. Same thing John said. Once the shock factor's gone, I mean, it's enjoyable, but is it a movie that I'm going to look forward to, year in and year out? Like, time to watch Megan. No, so I think I'm going to give it. I think I'm going to give it a 2.5. I mean,
John?
it's a fun movie, but could be more.
Yeah, I kind of struggle with this because I did like it. It's a good movie, but I agree. I'm not going to rewatch it a lot. I'll go with a 3. A good 3. Like, I want to go 3.5, but I'd say 3 is probably more where I'd put it.
TJ?
Yeah, I think it's a 3 out of 5. It's a little north of center, but the rewatchability is just, it's not there for me. I'm not going to revisit it a whole lot unless there's a whole bunch of sequels and I have to, watch the whole series through, that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to average us out to about a 3. And I agree, the rewatchability, but what I thought about is people I know who don't like horror movies, or even people that I know that do. I'm like, would I recommend this to them? And I would.
Yeah.
To me, that counts as rewatchability too, because it's something you believe in that you enjoyed and you want to share with other people. So
for me, it goes down because if you've seen the trailer, you basically already know what happens, and I don't like movies that do that.
Yeah,
Right.
that's fair. All right, that's a wrap on this episode. Be sure to go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Subscribe to us wherever you are currently listening to us, and follow us on Instagram. On top of that, we have a group on Facebook. We're doing a lot of giveaways. We give away a lot of digital copies, random things. So come follow us there too and get in on that sweet, sweet action. Next week, it looks like we're going to be diving into the first movie to ever win Best Picture at the Oscars. And that's going to be with the other TJ, the female TJ from the band The Nearly Deads, who you met their guitar player a few episodes, the 4th of July episode with Jaws Stephen. So she'll be joining us for that. We'll be talking about Silence of the Lambs. And, don't miss it. So signing off, I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And until next time,
keep it spooky.